And this is part 2 of our live broadcast today, which, of course, when you are watching this, is no longer live. But as we finished our session pitting Jean-Marie against devious and maybe soul-wrenching witches in the dark, deep, poor quarters of Paris, it occurred to us that maybe we should share some insights rather than going away and doing separate videos. We could do one together. And so here we are. So let's start off with a simple question for you, Seb. How did Jean-Marie feel today? Being, it was a solo game based on the epilogue that you had written about a battle with a witch. How did you enter play today as Jean-Marie?
Well, Jean-Marie is a monster hunter by concept, and as you know, in Ubiquity, the first thing you write about your character is the archetype or archetype, and this drive everything else during character creation. So playing Jean-Marie, I always have that in mind, and of course, fighting witches, werewolf, ghost, it's something that he's supposed to do. So he's kind of on the positive side of things when he's fighting a monster. It's not overconfidence. He's not expecting to outlive them all or kill them all. It's just what he does. Now, when he met the rest of the Covenant at the end of the session, and met true opposition in the form of non-combat, but rather feminine guile and influence, now it started to mess with his head. Jean-Marie is built to be a damage sponge. So in combat, even if he's not dealing Philippe level of damage each round, he's there for the long fight. So during the fight with the minions, I try to show that Jean-Marie is a long-term fighter. He's not someone who is he's tactical. He's a man with experience of life, but also experience fighting. He's not some kind of a crazy genius fencer like Philippe, or an improviser like Briscard. No, he think about stuff, and he try to gain advantage, and at several occasions.
6 guys all by himself.
Yeah, but he maneuver, he recoil, he run. He opened the fight with a run, but he gained advantage in this situation. He tried to learn the environment, and then he beat the shit out of these guys. But
I like both of those things. I like using the environment. I like a mobile fight. I hate it when it feels like unless you're using, the school of the iron position of never giving ground.
Yeah. Which it's something you
move.
you don't want to see that in a Musketeers game. You want to swing from the chandelier. You want to, like myself, get yourself out of a window, not knowing if there's even worse outside. It's part of the genre. But just to end on this, Jean-Marie is also built to resist influence. He has a willpower of 3, so it's part of his nature to endure and just keep getting forward and forward. And at the end, it's chance. We leave that to chance, and he missed his role, and he got charmed by the witch. So in a sense, he was almost in her grasp, and she could have made so much worse. And then the frog vomited, and I had my chance to get out of there.
That's a little seed I wanted to plant to expose Jean-Marie to a hint of what's really going on.
Yeah.
With like the evil coven that makes up part of Martin's family that they fought, with this coven of witches in Paris itself. What's behind this? Are these evil people, or is there some sort of external influence? And of course, in this game is from the point of view of the 1600s, so this demonic presence is very
Oh
much
yeah.
a part of the game.
At the end of the session, I went from writing this piece just to have fun with Jean-Marie while the other were gone, and I went from this cool little pieces like Van Helsing type of action movie, popcorn type of entertainment, to a true detective story, season 1, with all the weird stuff and Matthew McConaughey talking weird, and I went from that feeling to that feeling, and
Right.
it was cool.
Right. So we were talking before we launched the live game that the image that Seb first had was of Die Hard, and I said, well, this little one shot will be like a post credit scene where we set up the next stage of things, and so I'm glad that it had that shift of tone.
Oh yeah, it's like, yeah, you end with the Die Hard movie with the Christmas song and the credits, and now you do the Marvels thing, with an extra scene, and it changed everything. And oh my God,
John McClane just wanted to go home after Christmas, but he can't because of terror at the airport.
Oh, that's the original the original trailer, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, in this case, John McClane cannot go back because of witches.
Because of witches.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to say the way that it ended. Mind control is one of those touchy things, and it's not something I wanted to do. I mean, it's possible to do with the magic system of All for One, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to play with Jean-Marie's mind without taking him over, because that was not the goal of the witch. But I'm curious about, as the player, from the point of view of the villain of this one shot, what did they want? What was the point?
Yeah. From the player side, I was totally willing, as soon as I had identified the manipulation of mind and memories, and transporting Jean-Marie to his past, and as soon as I identified that, I played him that way. Once he awoke in his bed in Orléans with his child, I played him like in that moment. I stopped even thinking about the scenes. The witches could have driven a stick in my heart in that moment, and I was playing the influence of that, and
That's
I was
awesome.
and I was ready to let that happen. Mind control is kind of invasive, but if you are a part of that mind control, if you can have a say in what's going on while you're under the influence. In a way, you become the game master. Yes, you're making it worse for your character, but you're making the story so much better.
I think that kind of bravery gets rewarded, though. Like if the dice have intervened and said, I'm sorry, you're normally very strong of will, but this time, this situation, this approach into your mind, it worked, Right.
Yeah.
So I like that you were able to go with it and release it. And I think that a lot of game masters will be so shocked and surprised by that there are rewards in the scene for it. Like you'll have a deeper and richer scene, rather than if you keep just ignoring what the system is telling you and say, yeah, but I resist. That just creates frustration in the game master.
I'd be willing to say something very big, but I'll say it anyway, and we'll see where this goes. But I think that in a situation like that, a rule to dictate how it should be done would have made the scene less, in my eyes. It would have felt mechanic and procedural. And as role players, we have a great power if we are willing to let every possibilities go.
Yeah.
And when we throw the dice, this is the tunnel we will take. And
right
we have to be willing. It's like driving a car and being a stuntman. You can make the perfect stunt and do it with style, or you can crash and you can miss the bridge and just fall into the river and drown like a bitch. But yeah, you accept
style.
that also with style. Maybe they'll use it in the movie in the end because it's so spectacular,
That just happened.
Of course, I don't want to diminish other games or other ways of playing, of course. But to me, just be willing to do this, to bring disadvantage to yourself, to your character. It's not yourself, it's your character. So you have to have this detachment.
But, instincts. It's kind of like tightrope walking in a way.
Yeah.
You know,
you
know you can get to the other side, but there's always, what if, so, a scene might completely implode or explode or fall apart because of a risk you took as a role player. But you might end up with this great scene where the monster hunter, bent on revenge, has to see himself from the other way. Right? He lost something. So what does he want then most in all the world? He wants revenge, of course. He's chosen this path. He will get revenge. But what if he could have the son back? Now, when I started the session, this is not in my mind at all. When I started the session, I knew what the witches could do. I knew about the mysterious toad-shaped thing in the center throne. I knew they were going to be there. I didn't know if you'd encountered them or not, but I knew where they were. I had that section of Paris in my head. And what's going to happen as this fight takes place in the alleyway?
Yeah.
So I know what they can do. And then as I had Jean-Marie's sheet up in case there was an average that could be easily taken, I could just describe rather than interrupting something,
Yeah.
As we're going, I'm like, the word that's right in my eye line is revenge.
Revenge.
So every time I looked away from your picture in the hangout screen over to the character sheet, that's revenge. The first thing I focused on is revenge. Every time, revenge. And then it hit me. How would they, if they're in your mind, just kind of moving around, being aware a little bit? And I was, like I told you, the dice were cold. I was getting terrible rolls for them. So they're getting a limited amount of success in getting in, but they're very powerful, so they're getting in.
Yeah.
And
I roll really, really well all the sessions, but the two last row were not so great.
So that was interesting.
They made some great story to tell. On my character sheet, you have of course the archetype motivation, which is revenge, but he also has a vow. about avenging his son and kill a specific creature. So this is also something I have in mind when I play Jean-Marie. His vow to this creature and to avenge his son. So that's probably why Jean-Marie did not buy the charm wholeheartedly.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
and I that's why I chose it. I wanted to show that they were making assumptions about him.
Yeah,
they didn't really understand him. They had the surface level of knowledge. Oh, like there's no way he's going to come down this alley knowing that the worst moment of his life is on the other side of it. There's no way, but he does. Right? They're not controlling his mind. They're not preventing him from doing what needs to be done. They're trying to dissuade him, persuade him.
Yeah, the fact that the image was flickering between a daughter and a son and showed that what you are talking about, they were trying to control, but having just surface knowledge, and they just met the guy.
So then when you actually get up into the room, well, then all the stops come out. They really try to but you've now shown how useful you are.
Yeah, Jean-Marie will have to gain his strength back. There's two possibilities I have in mind for this. Either the charm will die off slowly over time, or it will endure or require some maintenance by the witches who will have to maybe approach him by night to ensure that the charm is intact. And that could be played so many different ways. Could Jean-Marie surprise them one night, like, haha, I was waiting for you? Or simply like accepting slowly the darkness and getting on a dark path.
Right. Does the willful monster hunter give up?
Yeah.
Does the willful monster hunter get convinced that this world of the Musketeers is a false world, is a lie, and that what this person offers is really the truth? Does he go back and burn the place down? Yeah. So if the campaign can continue, this is one of many seeds that can blossom into something. But as the King's Musketeers, of course, we're always first required to serve the king. We'll always be interrupted or sent off.
Yeah, it's by design that I played this character who have really a dual motivation. Yes, he must serve the king. He has a duty to the Musketeers and the king, but he also made this vow about his son and a specific creature. So
right.
I personally don't know what Jean-Marie would do if he had to choose between the two, and that would probably be informed or influenced by the situation and happenstance or events or things.
Well, if he continues to acquit himself well, if he manages to rise in rank within the Musketeers and thereby demonstrate the increased trust in him by Monsieur de Treville, right? If all of those things happen, and if he continues to be successful in his fight against creatures of darkness, there is the possibility of an invitation to a more secretive unit of the Musketeers.
Yes.
And so if he ever reveals what happened on this night to Monsieur de Treville, he may get one of those conversations about, stay the course, be strong.
Yeah. And I just thought of something campaign wise. The Witch of Saint Henri which I've described in slightly in my she was in feral shape, you know, a beast. She have been killed by Jean-Marie because she was hunting this girl, this baker's girl.
Her. Yeah.
Yeah, but now there's a free seat in that convent.
Yeah.
And Jean-Marie, that could be a great motivation to bring Jean-Marie back to the game of hunting weird, ugly ladies with strange powers. Yeah, if he ever learned that Madeleine is under their charm as well. Yeah. So yeah, I would add to the campaign notes as a potential plot or.
So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Jean-Marie is, on paper, a really serious character.
Yeah.
And played by himself, right, in isolation, is a serious character.
Yeah.
He seemed merciful to me. He wasn't really interested in taking out the worshippers, I guess we can call them.
Yeah.
Out of a sense of fairness, maybe. They didn't know what they were doing. But when played with the others, when played with the 2 or 3 other characters, there is a different energy about Jean-Marie. How much of that is conscious and how much of that is human nature, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I do that are conscious. When I roleplay the character, I sometimes let the character bleed out. But most of the time, I have time, especially when I play with others, I have so much time to think. I'm used to, you know, run world and NPCs and agendas and all kind of things. So I'm used to make judgment very quickly. So when I have free time and just one character to think about,
it's really liberating.
I would lie if I would say that everything is inspired and on the moment. So in the case of when Jean-Marie is with the other musketeers, the presence of Briscard changed everything for Jean-Marie. Because Jean-Marie is not a smiler. He doesn't smile much. He's always brooding a little bit. But there's something about Briscard that cracks him up. This guy who's constantly into superficial problem for Jean-Marie. He don't know why, but this character makes him laugh. So he might appear a little bit lighter just because he has a buffoon as a friend. It's right. Really the relation Porthos could have with Aramis or Athos, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah. So and going in alone in this story, it would have been tempting to make Jean-Marie really, really dark, you know, off the handle, Punisher-like, killing everyone. But again, it's going back to the archetype. He's not a manhunter; he's a monster hunter. So if somebody turns his back against him, he has the code of the musketeer. He's a good guy. He will not like kill someone in his back. He will bring him to justice if he can, but he's not a murderer.
I think that was a really significant point. Remembering the archetype and you know, what am I really? And yeah, Monster Hunter is what he is, and those men in the alley, although wrong, were not monsters. And although sometimes they might do monstrous things. So I was glad to see, like I said, your mercy in that scene. So I've got another question about mercy, actually.
Yeah.
So Briscoe brings the likeness. He manages to ease the burden a bit. But now we have Philippe, young Philippe, who just wants to make a name for himself. Enthusiastic. In a sense, Jean-Marie could be seen as responsible for exposing him to terrors and horrors and whatnot.
Yeah.
Dragging him into things.
Jean-Marie have a kind of a older brother situation going on with Philippe, I think, in his view at least.
Right.
He see the kid as a young man, not as a kid as he called him all the time. It's kind of the the kid bit, by the way, is it's the musketeer camaraderie, you know, where you're always like bullying your companion just a little, just to poke them a little. Yeah. So that could be part of that, but you feel a little bit responsible for him, but not so much, since he's very good. He's just there to encourage him, maybe. Maybe he doesn't know him as well as Briscard. It's still light with Philippe, since he's a kid. He needs somebody to laugh with when Briscard is doing the funny stuff. So, yeah, in a typical musketeer fashion, these guys are a comrade and companion. They can share a laugh. It's not
any challenge. Okay.
yeah, and Jean-Marie is a human being, and he's not always brooding. He has moods, and he will find something funny sometimes. Sure. Except that when we play these characters, we are often in service. We are on duty, in uniform, fighting the fight. So, yeah, I feel there's a more human Jean-Marie, but this one is before the death of his son and after his quest, after his him killing the loup-garou d'Orléans. Maybe he will return back to his land and become that man once more. So he's kind of in a gray zone for the moment. And now I'm really, really, really anticipating talks with Martin, because stuff happened in the first game, and he killed the creature in front of Martin, and I don't remember if it was Martin's father or if it was the werewolf brother. Kind of mixed the two, but there's an interesting conversation that must happen at some point.
It's true. That was a very dark scene from which all the future action with Martin arises, a turning point. But yeah, patricide and you know, the brutal, but I suppose, you know, mercy killing of the elder brother of Edward.
I think going in, if we have the chance to role play that conversation, I think Jean-Marie will be very clear with Martin and will make this very easy also. I have some notes about stuff Jean-Marie would like to say to Martin, but we'll see if this happens or not. Yeah.
In the next exciting adventure tomorrow.
Hey, yes.
Stay tuned. Same channel.
Same channel. And yeah, I could throw a question at you since we're doing this.
Sure.
Just your general impression of running a solo game. Well, Ubiquity being your favorite game, you probably had a couple of solo gaming in there, but maybe not All for One's solo gaming. So I just wanted to have your your thoughts about how did you feel about running this one shot for all for one specific character that maybe is not the typical musketeer.
Right. As I was getting ready this morning to, launch the Hangout, I was thinking, I'm kind of excited to see what this character can do by itself. Maybe I should do this for each of the characters, right? So after, like as a ceremony, after Francois runs his session tomorrow, then we'll try and find a time for he and I to do a one shot with Briscourt, and then after Ivan does his, I'll find time to do a one shot with Philippe. I think that would be kind of a fun thing to do, and hopefully we'll all be able to be interested in the game long enough that once everybody has gone once, we can all go again, because by that point everyone will be much more familiar with playing all for one and the different things that you can do, and they'll have expanded their characters with experience, and I'm really curious what it'd be like to play with you guys again, where I don't feel like the guy who's introducing the game. I just feel like the guy who's running that session. I think that would be fun. Yeah, running Ubiquity as a for one player is something we did fairly often. We had this huge game group when I still lived in Seoul, like 9 people in it, and we started out playing Vampire, and then some Mage, and then Adventure. Remember White Wolf's Adventure? Yeah. And then, but not everybody stays here in Korea as long as I do, or my buddy Lorne has. So our game group over time just kept getting smaller. People kept going back to their home countries, the jerks, and so it reached a point where there was just 3 of us. And we knew that very soon there was going to just be 2 of us. Lauren and myself would be the only ones left. So we had to recruit. And so part of that was at the time I had purchased All for One. I'd gotten Hollow Earth Expedition, and we had just got Desolation. And so the 2 of us were trying to rebuild the game group. So we did a lot of solo play between us and with the people that we met, and trying to build a group. And I've done one shots and things like that, like in play by email and other hangouts and so on. So it's something that I like. I find that the game scales really well to any size, because I can make it as fast as I want.
Yeah.
I never have to roll. I can have a list of things and very quickly handle large numbers of opponents, or I can zoom in on the detail and we can get pretty gritty and see the sweat on the faces of each character for each thing.
It reminds of the prelude in the storyteller system,
Yeah, and I like that, doing that all the way through my White Wolf years.
Yeah.
Like, who is this character? And I've often found as a player that my idea for the character changes in play. And sometimes it happens with my very first word, that the tone of voice I take is not what I intended, but it's it's right for that character. And sometimes it's many sessions in that I finally find my way into who that character is. Like my first Desolation character, for example, it took quite a few sessions before I had my aha moment. This is who this guy is. And the previous sessions had all been fun, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, you mentioned that discovering the character in the first thing you said in the scene. For Jean-Marie, it wasn't like that, I would say. Jean-Marie is probably based off a couple of characters here and there in several campaigns I've ran, and a couple of games I've played. I've tried once to play a Monster Hunter in 7th, a Heisen Monster Hunter. There's even a school for that, where you learn to fight monsters and such. But this character was kind of a one-off and almost forgotten.
The game master's curse.
Yeah, I'm just connecting connecting the dot right now, and I see that maybe there is the concept was taken there, but not the character.
Right.
And when I sit down and just create one character, this character have all my attention. So the image of this character, the concept. Sure, I've moved things around a little, but there was a strong concept of who this guy is. So he was kind of already figured out. Now what I need to discover about this guy is where does this lead? I know this guy, but I don't know his future. I don't know the people he will meet in strange situation, what he will do. It would be interesting to put Jean-Marie into a ball, a dancing competition, or an intrigue. He would be totally lost, but not entirely. Not entirely, because he's coming from a semi-noble, lesser noble family.
Yeah.
So he kind of have notion about it, but this is Paris. This is the big city, in French, la cité des lumières, the city of lights.
Yeah.
So it's not the same level of politics and courtly intrigue.
Yeah, I was really excited when I read Francois's pitch for his session. Like, I can't wait till tomorrow. As we're on guard duty at a royal ball. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, but we will start patrolling the Louvre, the surroundings of the Louvre,
the king's palace at that time. Yeah,
there will be some cardinals guard walking also around those red bastards.
Hopefully, no sign of Henri, but who can say?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I like that, and yeah. I guess I have one last question before we close things out. Mechanically, your fight in the alley with the 6 guys. So we incorporated a lot of things in here. We had morale. So some of the characters not being in it to win it. We had the minions attacking as a group, which has the advantage of decreasing the amount your defense is penalized and paying for that by increasing their ability to attack. Right. So using the assistance rules, I make 1 attack with the number of men in the group. I boost it, by 2 for each assistant. But that all counts as 1 attack action, which is faster for the rolling and has a lesser impact on the defense score. But then when we got into the alley, in the close quarters of the alley, I broke them up into separate groups. How'd that feel?
Well, as you know, I'm a 7C guy, so we have in this game what we call a brute squads, and each brute in the squad are represented by 1 die. So you take 6 die, you roll that, you keep some, try to attack 1 character. So you're basically attacking with 6 character. You don't have to take the 6 die. You can just take a couple here and there to represent the situation of the narrow passage.
The amount of threat.
Yeah. And it's something fun to see in the player's face when they take down one minions and you remove 1 die physically from the pool, and they're all excited.
That kind of physical stuff is important.
Yeah, it's kind of a physical representation, and it stimulates the imagination. So I was kind of into that mood, fighting the minions into the alley. I didn't even think about minions, henchmen, blade fodder. I was just playing my character from his point of view, trying to make rational decisions, tactical decisions, trying to gain advantages, trying to move around, and more importantly, act in this fight as Jean-Marie.
Fights tell a
and
story.
yeah, try to project myself into that character and try to. It's like a problem. How would Jean-Marie would face guys in the darkness in an alley? Okay, it's like a problem solving thing, and no, it was quite fun. Quite fun to place myself in his shoe and his boots.
That's right.
and yeah, and I try to also be descriptive because the Ubiquity is a lot about narration. I tried to stop my narration just before game consequences.
Right.
You know, if I don't know if I hit the guy, I cannot describe the hit.
The guy. Yeah.
Yeah, or I can describe the hit, describe the effect, but mechanically there's no effect. So there's all that. So
Hangouts makes that a little harder too, because of the little bit of lag. Like, is he done or is he pausing dramatically?
Yeah, I think it was worse at the beginning of the hangout. The lag got smaller and smaller as we played, or we adjust. Being
Maybe
smart,
or both. But it's definitely something I've noticed. Like when we had a fairly lengthy campaign of Desolation, and the players that I had were definitely not used to the amount of freedom that I was suggesting they take with their description, and it was something I wanted to get back to from early days. I didn't quite know how to get there, and that experience helped me kind of work out in my head how things could flow, and we got there eventually, where it didn't have to be okay. So what does that look like? They would roll. They would see the success. We were rolling openly, of course. We can see on the table all the successes, and they could just narrate the thing, whatever it was, and then I would fill in whatever needed to be filled in on my side. But that, even with the intention to do that, I find it takes time. Like to get to know the other players, to know their mannerisms, their body language, and know that they're finished speaking or they're doing a long Kirk-like pause. I'm not going to kill.
I believe. I believe in the future we will have better audio technology. I know that there is an app called Voxeat, which use the 3D space idea of placing people in a 3D space so you can hear everyone talking at the same time, and your brain can do like you do in a real world. I don't know why Hangouts still funnel the audio in one tiny audio channel. This thing
I suppose it's a bandwidth thing. I mean, we're flicking back and forth between HD and standard definition every few minutes. So
yeah, and Hangouts is not built per se for role playing or having like a tavern chat, with the music and people dancing. And it's over. Yeah, in a real space, you can filter out and focus there, and so I guess this is coming technology-wise. So we should see better days about that.
And we can tell our
there's another.
When I was a boy, video chats weren't 3D, fully physically immersive, and the sound was mono.
And there was one guy, he didn't add color into his video, all black and white.
That's right.
I had another thought. Just to finish, it's kind of funny to have two game masters on two different continents who had a similar epiphany about a game that is similar in genre and a mechanic that encourage narration and cinematic action. And it's kind of funny to realize that these type of games can affect people around the world. These swashbuckling adventure game, it's really like freeing your mind from reality in a sense. You know, when you jump out of a window, there's gonna be a cart underneath, or if
Right.
you if you jab somebody, you can write your initials on him, or you know.
Hopefully your name doesn't start with W or something complicated.
Oh yeah.
My name is
The
Ian.
The G. So it's kind of funny to make.
I think the genre games, like I went from D&D into Palladium Fantasy, but mostly because I couldn't quite persuade the group to play Call of Cthulhu. I bought Palladium Fantasy and Call of Cthulhu on the same day.
Oh.
And I'm reading them both, and I'm excited by Call of Cthulhu. I think this is awesome. I really can't wait to try this, but it's Palladium that the group went for.
Okay.
And so once we learned the Palladium system, I picked up Beyond the Supernatural.
Yeah.
And so we played a session of Beyond the Supernatural, and they said, "Wow, this is awesome." I said, "Great, so let's play Call of Cthulhu." and that time they went for it. And like I've described in my blog, I mean, that was the difference between me feeling like I knew the rules and me feeling like I was running the game. Like I found my way, I found my voice in that game. And it's just like all these little things, like today's combat with the beggar army, the cast-offs from Les Miserables, you know, they in the way that I used to run games 1,000 years ago, that would exist to be a combat.
Yeah.
And the enjoyment of rolling the dice, the enjoyment of risking defeat to gain victory, that would be its sole purpose. But somewhere along the way, it became about being something else, a way to show the genre. Right? There wouldn't be that kind of encounter in a Call of Cthulhu game, in a horror game. There would be something else. And learning how to bring horror into a scene, or comedy into a scene, or the swashbuckling visuals into a scene, it's harder than just playing. And then when you go back to a game that you started with, like like Dungeons and Dragons for us, or Palladium Fantasy, then you bring those skills back in and expand how you play, or see rules differently, and this constant evolution of what you see in what you do. Like a friend of mine always says, perfection is attainable. And it sounds like a really positive statement until you think about it. And for him, it was in a martial arts context. You know, you start as a white belt, and you're looking around, and you're just trying to punch or kick or swing your sword or whatever, and you think, wow, one day I'm going to be like that green belt over there, and the green belt's looking at at the red belt, and the red belt's looking at the black belt, and the black belt is looking at a higher ranked black belt, and on it goes. The better you get, the more you see that you can improve.
Yeah, totally. So I had the same epiphany with a different game, same genre as All for One, and it unlocked the possibilities. I was running GURPS for a long time, but before that, I had Palladium and Marvel Superheroes. My first game as a advanced Dungeon and Dragon, I was a player, and I mentioned this every time. The first game, I did nothing. I didn't understood the rules.
Right.
When you go back from the Universal table from Marvel to THAC0, there's like a wall, you know.
Yeah, Marvel is another one of those mind-freeing games. I get to play that only once in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh, I ran it for Chippy a couple of months ago. He's still bugging me to run another one.
It's addictive. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's a cool game. But I was dedicating myself to this game, very realistic game, and stumbling upon a game like 7C suddenly made it about not reality or simulating something. It made it about the genre, what the character in that genre would do, and
experience, feel, yeah.
And that changed everything. And now, even when I go back to that realistic game, I don't approach it the same way. I approach it with genre in mind, and thankfully, this game I can build anything, any genre I want, and it's fascinating stuff.
It's cool. And like we say, system matters, and it does.
It does, yes.
And but it can it's not a static thing.
Oh no.
How it matters changes by who's running the game and what is trying to be done by the group and on and on. And
oh yeah, I'm running 5e these days, but I'm pretty sure some would watch it and say, "Oh, this is not D&D. We're playing like in a pirate fantasy
right
kind of genre with the setting, green running setting, Freeport."
Right.
There's Cthulhu mythos underneath. So there I have my Cthulhu and pirates, and this is the blend we play.
what more can you ask for?
Works beautifully. Alignment. Do whatever you want. You want to be chaotic evil? Fine. There's something crawling in the night, and it's not pretty. And it doesn't have alignments.
Unknowable. Well, that's awesome. Anyway, I should let you get back to your family.
Yeah, they are all asleep.
Thanks for this post-game conversation.
Yep. It's been awesome. We should do this
tomorrow. Let's do this tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do this tomorrow.
See you then.
See you then.